Borderlands.
Yeah, the Borderlands 4 or the movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because last time we were live, neither two things had come out, and now
Correct.
we have.
Now there's at least announcements about one and the other movie. The movie's out. So the timing seems like they were hoping it would be a cool setup for them. But regardless of the movie's reception, it seemed like the reception to the teaser announcement was strong. It seemed like people were.
Have you read anything like reviews from people that like said things about the movie?
Yeah, lots. Yeah. What's up, Rolls?
I didn't hate the movie.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you said you had some fun with it. I mean, that was your intent. That makes sense.
Yeah. And I've heard a lot of good takes from people that have been like, I don't understand the hate. Like,
I mean, I've seen none of that. I've not
really
seen anyone say a nice thing about it, other than like fans. Like I've seen fans say nice things about it, but I've not.
No, the fans are the ones that are really ripping it more than anything, because fans suck. Case in point, Star Wars.
Yeah, we could talk about the Acolyte tonight. I know a lot of people were super bummed about that.
Yeah,
my threads feed was full of people that were super bummed about that.
Yeah. Oh, where was it? Because when the show came out, all I heard was horrible stuff about it. So now all of a sudden, it's like
fans, like Star Wars fans. Yeah, I saw lots of people that really enjoyed that. That show. Is it a big difference? I'm not so sure.
No.
Yeah. No. I don't really consider myself a fan of many things. I like a lot of things. I love a lot of things. But I don't consider myself being part of really any fandoms.
Not a single fandom? You don't feel like you're part of anything?
No, maybe like maybe some bands. Maybe I'm I would consider myself like a Thrice fan, I guess. But like even then, I mean, I that just means I like their music. It doesn't mean that I'm like interested in like their like deep lore or their fan art or anything like that.
Okay.
I mean, I love Thrice and I love a lot of things, like I said, but yeah. Oh, the Bills, I guess. Sports teams like the Bills. Yeah. Also, this sick vintage Rochester Nighthawks hat that I just picked up at the thrift store I found. I was so excited. That was the Rochester professional lacrosse team when I was.
Yeah. The Nighthawks, huh?
Yeah.
That's a cool name, actually.
Yeah. They had some really dope uniforms back in the day.
Oh man.
I mean, I'm glad you found some fun to have in Borderlands.
Yeah, no, I mean it's forgettable. It's a forgettable movie. But I think my biggest
1 minute, gone the next kind of.
Yeah, it just I don't see the ginormous amount of hate that I don't think it deserved. What was it, a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever? I think is the final count or something like that.
Yeah, which doesn't mean that many people gave it like a 1 out of 10. It just means most people gave it at least a like 6 or below, right? So it's like good, strong consensus that most people found it forgettable.
Yeah, I guess the percentage is just doesn't add up to what the movie was. I mean, if anything, I would have said maybe a 40.
Well, but that's the point. If enough, like all the Rotten Tomatoes is saying is that most people said, yeah, it's about a 40. You know what I mean? Like the Rotten Tomatoes is an average of everyone's ratings. It's just an average of how many people were above or below 60%.
Yeah, but it doesn't. I guess it just they're that's not how it comes off when someone reads the number, right?
I guess. I mean, I think like in general, you're looking for a consensus, right? So,
right. But I think when people see 10%, 5%, they're basically saying it's a 1 out of 10 movie.
Okay. I mean, I think like it's just a consensus, not very good, is like what you're seeing there.
Right. But it's the percentage usage, I think, is what is like, I understand it, but my point is I think the majority of people don't understand it. It's kind of like the weather. It's like when people say, 10% chance of rain. It's like everyone just thinks, it's a 10% chance of rain happening. No, it's actually 10% of the viewable area is what's going to get rain.
Yeah, that's actually not true either. Both of them.
Yeah, but that one is supposed to be
that was very confusing.
That one's very confusing, but that one is supposed to. I've heard that one's closer than it's saying that it's 10% chance, like out of 100%.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right about that. Yeah.
Like that's completely
more
incorrect.
accurate.
Yeah. But it's like a 10% chance of like a specific area or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I know that it's not that, and so I think the Rotten Tomatoes methodology of like the lower the number, it just feels like it's a consensus of it being like apparently all these people rated it like a 1 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10. When in reality it just means more tomatoes were thrown at it, right? Like that's the whole point of it. Like, boo.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
But most people don't get that because the reference is dated. Like, does that make sense? Like, it's I don't know. Anywho.
Yeah, I know you feel that way. I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I know on Letterboxd it's like a average 1.7 out of 5 from like users. So I think that's pretty close to like what you would be seeing on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's pretty close to what?
Like what you're seeing on Rotten Tomatoes, like in terms of like what the average is.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is on IMDb. I don't usually use IMDb for anything other than looking up actors' names.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But we had that announcement for the new Borderlands game, which people seem to be really pumped for.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pumped for it, but it just kind of feels like it took a little wind out of the sails, you know.
Yeah, I mean, sure. That's fair enough.
Oof. Siskel and Ebert, I consider them some of the worst reviewers ever. But
wow, that's a take.
Yeah.
That's a take.
I consider them.
Is Siskel? Did Siskel pass away? I know Ebert did, obviously, but I wasn't sure if Siskel did.
I don't remember. I know. Yeah. The tall.
Do you mean worst reviewers or reviewers you agree with the least? Because I think there's a difference.
No, I just think they were bad reviewers. I feel like they really like. I didn't agree with them, and I also didn't like their takes, and I also didn't like their schmarminess at the time.
Yeah, you're right about that, Rolls. I just looked that up, and actually, Siskel died even longer ago, which I did not realize.
Siskel was the tall, bald one.
Yeah, correct.
Ebert was the shorter.
Yeah.
One, and I remember Siskel was the first one to go. The tall one was the first one to go.
He passed away in 1999.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I remember.
Because then that's right. Because Ebert had a different co-host for a little while.
Yeah, because it was like something. This was 25 years ago. Gosh,
yeah, that's crazy.
Stop! Don't quote dates. Anyway, I never heard of them. But then again, I'm in the minority when it comes down to the type of movies I like. So whatever. But I also never every time I watch a show.
You can you can disagree with like a reviewer and still think they're a good reviewer, right? Like that's.
No. I really just didn't like them. I didn't like their attitude. But like, yeah, I can agree. I can agree
about being about the movies you like, and that's what I was responding to.
Yeah. I mean, again, and reviewers, there can be some that I like and some that I don't, but that just because they might side with something I like doesn't mean I like them. I mean, even though it happens all the time. I'm like, oh god, I don't like this guy, but he's right. You know, that's what
what's the meme? It's like that feeling when the worst person you know is right.
Yeah, you're like, oh! Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. Anywho, let me roll these credits and we can talk about it because I want to talk a little bit about some of these Gamescom. Because we had some bangers.
It was a busy night. It was a busy couple nights.
It was a busy couple nights, and I'm kind of, but I don't know where I'm at. Like we'll talk about it because I'm a little confused on where we're going here.
Okay, sounds good. Let's go.
Hey everyone, welcome to Mid-Geek. It is Thursday night. It has been a long week already. Here we are.
I feel like instead of Thursday, it's actually a secret 8th day that has been in the middle of the week. Unbeknownst to myself.
My spouse got COVID for the first time.
Buddy. Come for us all eventually. Sorry to hear that.
So
How's she
yeah,
doing?
it hits all of it. I mean, like it was day 2 of school. Like yesterday
Yeah,
was
yep.
day 2.
I mean,
She got
it's popping right now. There, like everybody's getting it. It is popping off right now.
I mean, I don't know if I have it. I haven't taken the test afterwards. Like I don't feel sick, but I'm pretty sure I probably either have it or I'm a carrier or whatever.
Yeah,
Obviously.
you'll probably just need to keep testing on it. That's just how it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. So I'm gonna probably test myself. I felt a little weird, but sometimes
Yeah.
it's the mental state because it's like
Sure.
she's sick, so I'm like, do I have it? So then
Yeah,
I
you
make
have that
myself sick.
sympathetic thing,
The
and it's like,
sympathetic thing. It's like, yeah. So all day I've been like, do I have a headache? Am I feeling okay? Like, just
know
tired.
exactly what you
No,
mean, man.
I'm just tired because I didn't sleep in the same room with her, and the dogs were up, and I did everything. Yeah, so it was all just a mess. What's going on, Adam? But either way, she's got it for the first time, and it sucks because like I think she's got more updates than anybody. I think she's been on the ball getting all her
Yeah.
security updates, and we even had scheduled for the next one because the school was offering it, so we're
Right.
scheduled for next month. And now apparently, today they announced the FDA just greenlit another wave of like another vaccine or whatever. So
Yeah.
whatever, man. It doesn't. I don't know if you like everyone who's got it has had it, and the vaccine doesn't always get you. But I'm still gonna get my shots. But here we are. So COVID is still around.
Do you usually do like the flu vax too every fall, just to like protect against that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. And my wife gets it mostly because she works with kids and stuff, and it's like might as well. And she's never really had the flu when it comes into like cold flu, but she's had like some stomach bug flu, but never like a cold flu. But yeah,
I had like the real flu like once, like the influenza thing. It's brutal when you get like the real flu.
Yeah, you're like everything hurts, and you're just like, and let's be honest with you, men get it the worst because we get like man flu. We're just like, we turn into like weeping babies, and I completely agree that we do. We're manly men until we're not, and then we're just like, no, all I want to do is like curl up and like just hold me.
Yeah, my dad was feeling under the weather this week, and I know there was a little bit of that going on for sure.
The man flu is the best. It's the best and the worst. But yeah, so I don't have it. My wife has it. She's had it all day. Dangerous is kind of hoping to get the new.
Yeah, I hope you're able to get that rolls. The cruises there. You're cooking in whatever happens to come on board with you for a while.
Yeah, buddy. I wish you the best on that. Like, if anything, like nothing but like a boat. Like, let's put everyone on a boat and breathe the same air for a while. That's the way to work.
Wasn't there like a boat that was when the pandemic first hit? There's like a boat off of New York City that like goes stuck.
They couldn't dock. They wouldn't let them dock.
They wouldn't dock for like weeks.
Oh god. Oh god, nothing. I just jump off. I jump in the water. Like
just like Poseidon, take me.
God. Oh man. Speaking of boats, so let's get into some news here. So I haven't read this story. Have you read this story about this super yacht?
Oh, the one that went down with the billionaire or whatever.
Who had just gotten acquitted from fraud charges.
Oh, really? I didn't read that part. That's funny.
Oh, dude. Like, so the wife sent me an article. She's like, you have to read it all. Read it to the end. She's like, I'm not a conspiracy person, but if anything, this sounds like some sort of act of God. Like apparently like a water spout took it.
Yeah, that's what it was. I think honestly, I stopped reading once I got to the part where the yacht was named the Bayesian, as in Bayesian economics. It's like, get that. Goddamn, we are. That is wild.
Yeah.
So what's the conspiracy here? Is it just?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I haven't read it, but as soon as I read the story, I'm going to figure it out. I'm sure it's going to have something to do with like, yeah. Oh yeah, it's something. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, also wasn't it?
Was he was a tech guy, right? He was in the tech industry.
Yeah. That was the wife. His partner was acquitted. That was also acquitted. Was killed in a hit and run.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of part of the billionaire game. I mean, who hasn't been?
Also, it's almost like a year date, like give or take, where a bunch of other billionaires went underwater in a
with a submarine.
Yeah. It's like maybe late August isn't where billionaires should.
Not very mindful.
Oh Adam, I love you, dude. We're too old. Don't do it. Don't do it.
You might be too old. I'm not too old. I'm good. I'm
demure. You use the word incorrectly.
I'm very demure.
Are you quite Sigma?
I'm more Sigma than Skibbity. I'll tell you that.
So today we had our block party. So we have a bunch of like departments and pep rallies and whatever else. And so my job today for the STEM lab was I was downstairs. I was running one of our lasers and I was doing like keychains for people, and I had a bunch of kids run up to it. And I had kids asking for their names. I had kids asking for, can I get phrases on it? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever you want, man. So I had this one kid request a keychain that said, I am the Rizzler. And he then promptly picked it up and goes, oh man, I can't wait to show my brother, to actually show him that I'm the real Sigma. And I'm like, okay.
There you go.
So, So yeah, at that moment, I swear more white. My beard, like, damn kids, like I felt very old at that moment. I don't get it, but whatever. Cool.
Yeah, I mean,
skibbity toilet, whatever. I don't know.
Sticking your gat out for the Rizzler, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, Whitney works at a college, and so the language there is a little bit more delayed than what you're getting in a high school setting.
Yep.
Or are you high school or junior high? I couldn't remember what. Is it?
Or everything.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
you're getting lower, middle, and high.
So the whole scope.
I'm getting the whole scope. Yeah, and it always trickles down from high school.
Yeah.
So like the middle schoolers and the lower school won't start using the language until later. Also, we were talking about it during lunch, how it's trends are happening, but trends also now are cycling on a yearly basis. And it has a lot to do with the fact that like holiday videos or videos regarding a specific time of the year will like be made a year ago on TikTok or Reels, and then they come back into circulation. And so the songs that are used in those a year ago all of a sudden start getting replayed again. So like they won't leave circulation. It's almost like they've become yearly things, like certain memes or whatever. Just
little traditional memes.
Yeah, little traditional memes. So it's kind of interesting that like kids all of a sudden, I heard about some kids dabbing again and whatever else, and I'm just like, what just happened? Like,
crunk is important. You teach the kids the sacred words, man. I mean, crunk is important. You got to give them crunk.
And you get crunk dancing, and yeah.
I learned, speaking of crunk, I learned this week that the music video for "Turn Down for What," the Lil Jon cut, which you should watch if you've never seen.
I love that video.
That music video rules. Directed by the same guys that directed Everything Everywhere All at Once.
That makes so much more sense,
right?
Now.
Doesn't it make sense?
That makes so much more sense now. Yeah,
that rule.
That's oh my god, I love that video. I love that the woman in that video is.
So great. just throwing it down,
throwing it down. Yeah. Oh man. Wow. God, I'm gonna have to watch that after this.
I as soon as I read that, I was like, I gotta go watch the video again.
All right, so let's talk about Gamescom here, and I'm going to start from left field here. Well, first off, I'm going to talk about one bit of news that happened while we were not here. Hi-Fi Rush Studio, Tango Gameworks.
Yeah. Snatched up.
Bought, picked up, and Hi-Fi Rush was picked up, and they are working on a sequel.
Yeah, I mean, exciting news for everybody that loved Hi-Fi Rush, which, as far as I can tell, was everybody who played it. That game ruled.
Yeah, it was real good, real great. I loved it.
The weird thing was who they were snatched up by, right?
Yeah,
they were snatched up by
Crafton?
Yeah, Crafton. Who did the pre-Fortnite with PUBG.
Yeah, PUBG. I always think it's funny. It's they're the equivalent of the Steve Ballmer of those.
Yeah.
They make the comments of Steve Ballmer is like, who could you type in without a keyboard? It's like $600. Who's gonna buy that? And then the iPhone like whoops them up, right?
Yeah.
That PUBG was like, no one wants silliness in their games. It's like no one. It's like no one wants like cartoon graphics, like crossovers, and all of a sudden, like now they have their own crossovers. Like it's so fun. So
so a pretty interesting matchup for Crafton to take them over. I kind of just hope they more or less leave that
just leave them
studio
alone
to their own devices. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Although Crafton, they were one of the ones that announced a new game at Gamescom as well. So they've got some things cooking in there, and it was a very different kind of game than PUBG. So
what did they announce?
They announced Inzoi, which seems to be sort of like a mashup between The Sims and those like kind of mobile dress up games. Except
it's
hyper realistic graphics. It looks
like a GTA Sims game.
Yeah, I don't know how much of like the GTA side of it seems to have. I watched the trailer for it, and it was the character creator. The fidelity on that thing is crazy.
Inzoi, right?
Yeah, INZOI. I don't know that it is like the game. The trailer felt a little dystopian to me. It was like, "What's your dream life?" I know you're not going to have your dream life, but you want to pretend with these awesome graphics, though. And then it like shows like
really.
It's like, oh god, that's a little. I'm a little bit bummed out by this.
But the timing with AI right now probably isn't the best. Like,
yeah, sure. But I mean, it seems like I believe they released the character creator, and people seem to be really enjoying it. It's
have they now?
Yeah. So, anyways, this is the company that bought the Hi-Fi Rush.
Oop, hold on. Sorry. There we go.
You even got like the Simlish thing going.
Oh yeah, that is where they are talking kind of Simish.
Yeah. I mean, they've clearly put a lot.
We got protagonist hair.
We do have protagonist hair. One of two black hairstyles game developers are able to make. Although I'll give them credit here, it looks like there's a lot more of that customization in here.
Yeah, this feels like GTA right there. Didn't that feel like GTA?
Especially those like GTA hyper realistic mods, you know, where they're just like cruising around. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's really going on here other than like something sort of like The Sims. But I guess if you're talking about like the PUBG studio, they're definitely branching out. This is very un-PUBG like.
I don't like. Cool. Okay. Yeah.
Oh man, you've not seen my final form, Adam. I have so much crankiness in me.
For those that don't know, only because you announced it this week.
Yeah, that's true. I am having my first kid. I'm about to be a dad. I'm entering dad life in January. Very excited. So I had chatted with Joe about a little while ago. He already passed his congrats on, but yeah, I appreciate the shout out, Adam.
Yeah. No, totally. It's
to celebrate and to announce, I got these.
I saw. I was like, oh, look at that sneakerhead, baby.
Little tiny little Air Force Ones.
little ones.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Those tiny.
I didn't know you could order them this small.
Yeah. They wear them for about 3-4 days.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure this kid's ever gonna wear these. Like we'll see.
Like day one, maybe put them on, take a picture, and then they go back right onto the shelf.
Yeah.
So,
but thank you.
Yes. I can't wait for the dad talk. It's gonna be great.
Oh yeah,
love it.
Oh yeah, we're excited. Looking forward to all the advice and the dad gaming stories. One of the really nice things.
None from me. You heard enough from me.
Even if I ask for it specifically.
Oh, if you ask for it, I will give it. But I learned early on that everyone loves to give that like parent unsolicited parent advice, and I'm like, It doesn't work. Like kids aren't they're not a one size fits all. It didn't work that way.
There's no equation here.
Yeah. It's like what works for you doesn't work for me. What works for me doesn't work for you. Like it's the way it is.
Yeah. But it'll be fun. looking forward to it. Coming in January, so we're doing all the prep. But
January what, give or take?
Due date is the 19th.
The 19th.
19th.
My sister's from the 14th, so.
All right. I mean, I know, man. I feel like every time I talk about this, somebody is telling me about their January birthday. They're rooting for this. So I'm an October baby, and nobody in my family was a January baby. So this is a new one for us. Yeah, super pumped.
Good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I will microwave them. Thank you.
Heathens. We have air fryers now, folks. Be a little more.
Nah, man, I want that paper towel vibe. That paper towel and microwave vibe.
The moist paper towel vibe. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. Anyways, Gamescom. That's what we're gonna jump into.
That's what we're jumping into. Yeah, let's talk about this. So, I had forgotten Gamescom was a thing until it can't happen, and I was like, oh yeah, Gamescom. Okay.
Yeah.
What do we do here? Like, what got
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I'll tell you one thing we do. We bring Jeff Keighley back out on the stage.
Of course we do. They defrost. They hit the defrost button on him and walk him out and make him do all sorts of song and dance. And
yeah, man. I mean, we were joking about it earlier in the year that he's just is Mr. Games at this point, but I think him being the host of Gamescom really drove that home to me this time around, because it's just this is a trade show. This is actually still kind of committed to the idea of being a trade show, not like a big advertisement production thing. But here he is.
Exactly. Yeah, man. So I'm gonna start off with one bit of news.
Yeah.
I think I'm officially sad about Microsoft.
Okay.
Now, I mean, I've talked about it before, but I think I'm off the bandwagon. I'm now kind of like a what's on Steam. I just can't get behind any console maker right now. And Microsoft, I don't know what the hell they're doing.
What about the Gamescom pushed in that direction?
So I mean, nothing in particular except the fact that they released new SKUs for consoles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that.
That no one wants. So I love.
Yeah, they're not selling consoles, so
they're not selling consoles. So let's release new SKUs.
Yeah,
and then so here's the wrap your head around this. They released a 2 terabyte version with a disk drive.
Yep.
And then
a cool Galaxy print.
Cool Galaxy print. I won't knock the print. It looks cool.
Sure.
But all digital Series X, which is fine because I think about it, I like having my disk drive, but I really do download most of them from Game Pass. So
you could see the place for that. Yep.
You see the place, but it's got 1 terabyte. It's got less than. Why didn't they do the opposite? Why didn't they do or just? 2?
Oh yeah, you would think the one without the disk drive would be the one you would need the more storage on. I totally see what you're saying. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That's the one that it's all digital, so you can't have a game. You can't put a physical copy in it. So you have to.
I mean, I think the storage conversation with all consoles and any OEM that produces laptops, especially Apple in this case, the storage that pricing conversation is just insane, right? Any of these companies could chuck another terabyte in there for $3 more per unit.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me.
They just don't. They refuse to give us the most useful thing they could give us on these things.
It's Microsoft, and it's such a choice for them because we know what they've reverse engineered the tech. It is literally NVMe with a compact flash express adapter. That's what those things are. Yet they lock it out firmware wise. So and Sony, the most not consumer friendly one, says here you could just buy any PCI.
Yeah, just check a NVMe whatever.
And those dropped in price. The moment they turned that on, it feels like they dropped in price. At one point, a 2 terabyte one was $200, and now it's $80.
Yeah,
$80, $70, you can get 2 terabytes in NVMe form. And it's just cool. That's where digital would be, right? And then it makes you more of a reason to download. But then let's release it. And then they released, I guess, another variant of the S. I can't even understand.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's like new SKUs, and they pumped it out like it's a big deal. It's like none of this is exciting to anybody.
Yeah. I mean, I think they basically are treating them like, because one thing that they do that they end up selling a lot of, it seems, is like their limited edition kind of like new collectors, or not collectors, they're new controllers,
Controllers.
right?
Yeah,
And
I
they seem
love
to do really
the
well with
Xbox
that.
One. I
And
love
so
them,
it feels like they're just trying to do the same thing with the consoles, but I mean, of course, it's not going to work the same way.
but it doesn't work the same way. Why would I
No,
wouldn't buy another console? Like I'll buy another controller to play on everything else that plays
100%.
games.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not trading in my perfectly fine working Series X for
Yeah,
like
yeah.
anything else
Yeah,
there.
yeah, absolutely. And even then, like now that Game Pass and most of the games are ported over to PC, like day one when they come out on Game Pass, like I've literally been playing on my PC or
Yep.
my Ally. You know, like I've got other things that play it better now that give me more storage right off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So like I don't get it. So yeah, that was really one of the big things that it just kind of soured it for me on day one of GameCon. I was like, really,
Mm.
Microsoft, like this is what you're leading with? You're gonna be like new SKUs for consoles that aren't selling very well anyway, but
When you say
okay.
they're leading off with it, how did they lead off with it? Was it just like the first thing in the show or something
It
like
was
that?
one of
I
the
didn't
first
watch
things,
the
like
show
it was
live.
one of the first videos that they had put on their website to kind of start
Oh, okay.
off. Like they're one of their first YouTube pushed out videos. And I was like, okay, I get it. We're gonna get more of it. Like there's more stuff, but like I didn't see anything super spectacular from Gamescom and Microsoft. Did you? Did I miss something? Like
I mean, unless like, I mean, I know some folks were pretty stoked on the new updates on the Indiana Jones game that continues to look, I think, pretty good to a lot of folks. But
oh
again,
yeah,
that backfired in terms of like a lot of the discourse because it's coming to PS5.
yep.
Not
And
not immediately, but on a delayed exclusive.
yeah, it's a delayed exclusive. It's essentially the equivalent of what Sony does already.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sony
Um,
does that with a number of their stuff too. Although Sony's delayed exclusives tend to be longer than like 6
about a
months.
year.
Yeah.
They'll
Yep.
do a year, and this is yeah, like so again
And of course, it
more
won't be on Game Pass on Sony. But yeah, yeah,
yeah, but also with the news of Game Pass, right? So they're restructuring Game Pass. So
yeah.
now
They
there's
did a
game.
couple months ago. Yeah, with the
So
new
they
price
restructured
price
it.
load.
So now that the price is a little more expensive, starting September, I think is the first month that it actually goes up in price.
Yep.
They've split it. So now there's Game Pass Standard
Yep.
and Game Pass Ultimate, and Game Pass Standard won't get games day one.
Yep.
Now there will be a delay as well. And there's some like this is like what's going on? Like why are you splitting your own like user
Yeah.
base even more?
Yeah. 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 Yep. I saw who was it? Oh no, it was a video. I was watching a video by Skill Up, who I really like Skill Up's coverage. They tend to do a pretty
Yeah,
good job,
yeah.
especially of show coverage. But they were talking about like they're like, yeah, I mean, this makes sense. Microsoft is a multi-platform publisher. They just don't want to admit it. Like, and that was sort of his take on it. I was like,
They really don't want to admit it.
it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah. They act like they are like every other console maker, but like they're pushing everything out to everything else except their own home console. Like
Yeah.
their own home base is just
I mean,
constantly like
I don't know that they act like every other console maker. I think that like this is sort of like the weird space that they're in right now. Like for this generation, anyways. I feel like these three console makers are all really distinct in how they're interacting, and they almost like I mean we've said this before, but like they none of them feel like they're playing the same game at all. And I think like the messaging really since the spring for Microsoft has not done much to clarify what the strategy here is.
I don't
At
think
all.
they know what their strategy is. I think they're trying to play it loose and wild to see but they can't. They're trying to play. They're trying to play the market by following it instead of leading, and trying to follow trends. But they don't know where the trends are going, so they keep overstepping. I don't know. It's just weird. Like I feel like they're not willing to commit to something.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just weird. I don't. I
I
honestly.
mean, it's interesting. I know Sea of Thieves. They just announced, uh, like just hit a new milestone over on Sony in terms of like how much money it was making and how much it sold. And I mean, it was definitely not an insignificant sum. It was like it was clear there was a big player base over there for them to get. And I think like the takes I was seeing, kind of people go back and forth on, is like, is that amount of money worth like what they feel was like damage to the brand, right? And I think like that's the kind of question that everybody's sort of like arguing over with
Was it worth killing Xbox as a platform
Right.
for
Right.
it being now just a publisher name and you
Right.
taking the money there?
I mean, not to say that, like, of course, Sea of Thieves was the thing that killed Xbox as a
No,
platform,
no,
but like
absolutely not.
in terms of like that behavior and like what
Yeah,
they're doing there. Totally.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
With Indiana Jones coming to PS5, I mean, yeah, I'll just get it on Steam, but like it's on PS5 now, so everyone can play it. So woo, power to the gamer, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of dumb ideas, this guy's back in the news.
Oh, are we talking about my good friend Peter?
Yeah.
Yeah. I cannot believe we have a return of the Molyneux, man. I saw a really good headline about this today that was just like, we don't have to keep doing this, guys.
So for those that don't know about Peter Molyneux, I guess his big claim to fame originally was Black and White, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which was
Black
one of
and
the
White,
like OG God games.
OG God games. A very populist style, very God game esque. You know, like you have a giant deity, big giant animal deity, and you know, there's just like social and you know, complex social structures.
Yeah, like emergent behavior between like the AI, which was
Yeah, a
super
lot of
crazy back
like
then.
anthropology gaming in a way, you know, just
Yeah,
very much that kind of thing. And then
yeah.
of course his next big hit was the Fable series.
Don't forget Dungeon Keeper.
Oh yeah, I
He was
forgot that the
responsible for
Keeper
Dungeon
with him.
Keeper
Yeah.
before Black and White. I like the pre-Fable era. Peter Molyneux is pretty interesting. You got Populous, like what you mentioned, and Black and White, and then he also had Theme Park, which kicked off the whole roller coaster tycoon kind of thing.
Oh,
And then
was he Theme Park as well?
he was Theme Park, and then he was Dungeon Keeper, which of course like it was a huge iconic franchise in its own right back in like the late '90s, early 2000s. And so he had this like super interesting run of games that were huge on PC, and he had this very like auteur status. He was always standing out in front of his games, and then yeah, Fable, like you were saying. Which where are you at on Fable? I'm curious. We never talked about Fable. Were you a Fable guy, or was you like take it or leave Fable?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the first one. I played a little bit of two. I never played. I guess three was
Yeah,
three.
three. Yeah,
I never played three. Um, uh, and from my understanding, it didn't have good reception.
Yeah, it was mixed reception for sure.
Yeah. The last I remember, when it came down to Peter and that style was
Yeah,
his.
where did we last leave him?
Yeah, and I'm like, obviously, I know all the stuff he did recently, but the last like big, like where people still believed in him, and then like where the spark went out, where I saw the spark die, I guess is kind of the best. But best is his AI kid.
For the Kinect.
The Kinect, the
Yeah,
weird
yeah.
AI kid thing.
A weird tech demo where you could like draw a picture on a piece of paper and hold it up to the camera, and the kid would grab it and have the piece of paper in his world.
Peter, what the heck was that called?
Oh, dude, I could not tell you for the life of me. I remember vividly that tech.
It never came out.
No, right. It was
Project Natal,
vaporware.
the Milo demo.
The Milo, because Project Natal was what the Kinect was before they named it the Kinect, and then the Milo
years
demo.
ago.
Yeah. Ooh, boy.
E3 2009.
2009.
Yeah, let's. I want to show a little bit of this because I think we have to understand how he was.
Science fiction writers, filmmakers, they haven't imagined what we're able to do today. We've been experimenting with something here. I'd like you to meet a boy called Milo. He's a character that can recognize us. He can recognize our faces. He can recognize our voices. He can recognize emotions in us. And this is Claire. She's going to introduce you to Milo.
Hi, Milo. How you doing?
Hi, Claire. You okay?
Actually, I'm a bit nervous.
You? Nervous? I don't believe it.
This is the first time that thousands of people are going to see this.
Thousands of people.
This isn't
Here we're
pre-recorded at
seeing
all, right?
Claire being recognized.
Actually,
And
It's unbelievable what they were trying to sell.
And that emotion reflecting in Milo's face. Those are all being seen for the first time.
So listen, I was thinking today you should let me beat you at football again. That is if you finished your homework.
Like sitting here in
You have
2024,
finished your
all the
school
AI
project.
conversations we've had. It's
Are you
crazy
happy?
that you're
There
doing this.
is that
2009.
Claire
Yeah. Move the mic a little to like every time you turn this way, it cuts out.
Oh, sorry, man. Thank you.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah,
know. The
good.
AI conversations are absolutely wild these days. And so
Yeah.
this is pre-AI, right?
Well,
But yeah.
but like he's claiming things that even people today would not
knew
be claiming,
Milo
right?
so
Like
well, she knew
that's what's
when he
crazy.
was worried about something. The head was down. He wasn't looking at the camera so much. And this is about you meeting a character, a person.
Well, why don't I help you with yours? Then yours will be brilliant.
All right. I could just try to catch some fish. Draw some pictures in my journal. Maybe I'll do okay this time.
I think that's a good idea.
Lift off.
What are you doing?
Don't
Why
know
is she
if I
jumping
tried, do I?
too? Like she's
She's so immersed. She's so
Got
immersed, man.
everything we need.
The magic of
Great,
Connect
let's
and
get
Milo.
started then.
You've got to put these goggles on.
Goggles.
Put them on like this.
Okay. What? Like that?
Claire has been thrown a pair of goggles. Notice what she did. This wasn't acted. She felt the need to reach down for those goggles.
because she knew it was coming, dude.
Everybody,
Like
every
No, man,
single
she wasn't
person that has
acting.
experienced this reaches down because they feel so connected to Milo's world.
Cool. So what are we doing? Do I have to stand at the edge?
now he good sons you and like pushes your head in the water.
It's not too cold. I bet the fish think you're a monster.
Cheeky.
Squish the water about a bit. See if you can touch a fish.
Like
There
I
Claire
think the
in
biggest problem here
Milo's
is
world. She's
there's
in
no
that
game
world.
here, Peter.
Every hand movement.
I mean, that is
being
one of the
recognised.
problems here. I will agree
Being
with
able
that.
to
Yeah.
touch
There's just no
fish,
game.
being able
So
to
like
swish the
Peter's
water
got all
with
this
her
millions
hand.
of dollars
Everyone
invested,
who's
and
experienced it,
and
their hairs are
Microsoft is just
standing
like,
up
yes,
on the
throwing
back.
money at them,
Now,
like, yes,
what's
build this, build
about
this,
to
build this. And like,
happen is
what are you
surreal.
building, dude?
Well, you're good at drawing.
I mean,
Is this
to give you an
co-pilot?
idea, to give you an
They're
idea of
trickier than
where
you think.
Peter Molyneux was
Well,
at
here, I'll
in
help
terms of how he was regarded in
Right.
the
I'm gonna
game
do a
industry.
body,
For Fable 3,
tail, the
the
big
voice cast was Ben Kingsley, Stephen Fry, Simon Pegg, Michael Fassbender. Like that was the kind of pull Molyneux had. And that's what got him to be able to like pitch stuff like that. That's none of that's true. That
Yeah.
thing could do none of those things.
Yeah. The game,
At all.
this Project Natal, that Milo demo was all pre-recorded. Was
Yeah.
all like it was all. It's just a mess. And I think there's some interviews about this afterwards. I think like not on this video, but there's been interviews afterwards about how far along they were and the things he was very eccentric on what he wanted and it couldn't be done. And with the Xbox 360 didn't have the horsepower. We didn't have like
we barely had like machine learning of any kind.
Yeah.
In 2009, that wasn't a huge space that people were working in, especially in game development.
Yeah. To be fair, he is a very forward-thinking individual when it comes down to tech. But game development wise, I think he forgot the game development side of what he was trying to do. And he was just so excited about the tech and the shininess of things. But I think he never realized
even
how
the
to tie it
tech
in.
wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like in that case,
Right, well, he
even the
was
tech wasn't there.
He was always thinking about he was always thinking about the next thing and about what the next thing he can do. It's like my kids do this sometimes. Like I'll show my kids a movie or whatever, and they're like, "Is it part 2? Is there a part 3?" And I'm like, "You haven't seen the part 1 yet, kiddo.
Yeah,
like,
let's
stop.
pipe down.
Let's
see what
pipe
part
down.
1 is.
Let's hold off on the next thing. Enjoy what's here now."
Yeah.
You know, and so like I think that's him. It's like they would give him a piece of hardware, and he was like already developing for the next one, but trying to shoehorn it to fit in this one.
Well, and he would tell you, the consumer, he would tell you that this crazy next thing, it's about to be in your hands. And then he would give you the thing and it'd be like, wait, what is this?
Yeah, what is this?
Because even with Fable, right? Like I liked Fable. I played all 3 Fables. I thought they were good RPGs. Fable 1 was like promised as this revolutionary, responsive world where you could drop an acorn somewhere and you could come back to it over the seasons and watch it slowly grow into a mighty oak tree. Right? That was the big idea.
Yeah. That was the big.
Um,
I remember that.
And like that wasn't true. In that case, at least it was still a good game. But like, you know what I mean? Like that was. So this is Molyneux. This is who we have coming back on Gamescom 2024.
He really he likes to create worlds, and he wants to create. He wants to be like this god. He's got a god complex. Let's be honest. Every game has always been, and every game he's ever created has always been some sort of like god complex, right? So like if you go back to Populous, obviously. If you go back to Black and White, I mean those are gods in general. If you go to Dungeon Keeper, I mean technically you are a demon, and you're
it's all about control.
It's all about control. Fable, well, one of the big pushes for Fable or theme park. I mean, the sky view of building and like controlling the fate of everything. He was always a god like deity thing. So this right here is essentially him wanting to birth life. Like he was like basically like he was basically pulling a Geppetto. It was like, oh, I've got this Pinocchio character that I'm building, and he's a real boy. He can feel. I think at one point there's moments in the demo where you can blow into the microphone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were pushing that a lot in Connect.
They were like blow into the microphone, and like he could feel it or whatever. You could blow like hair on his like face. I'm like, that's creepy, dude. Why are you like
what's going on here?
Why are you sitting there like blowing wind into the microphone on a little boy? Are you sitting in your office like doing this? Like this is a guy like he's got the secret demo that no one else has. Like very creepy. So yeah, back to who he is. Not I wouldn't call him a fraudster, but I would definitely call him a snake oil. Like,
I was gonna say, I think he straddles that line between visionary and snake oil, right? Like that's where he's always been his whole career, and the last 15 years has been more snake oil than.
Yeah. So what was that Kickstarter game that he was all about? Right? There's a whole Kickstarter game that he started, and he backed and whatever else, and they pulled a bunch of money, and then they got canceled, and then he pulled out, and it was just
was that Goddess or Godus or whatever that was
something
called?
like that. Yeah. So it was just a mess, and that was the last, and it came back out like he was the one that was like, I think they pretty much
the one that was like backing it basically.
He was the one that he was the one that everyone like once they pulled the curtain back, he was the scammy part of it all.
Yeah.
And so like the fact that any company would want to work with him or any publisher would touch him is kind of weird to me. So
it is interesting. I mean, he does have his own studio, right? Because he's not Lionhead anymore. It's like 22 Cans, I think is the name of his studio.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see who's publishing this, if anyone, or if it's being self-published by 22 Cans. I agree with you. I can't imagine. I think it's probably a hard sell.
I'm wondering. So his pitch apparently wasn't very like big. Like it wasn't like.
Yeah. So the name of the game he was kind of showcasing was Masters of Albion.
Yeah.
Which it looks like is developed and published by 22 Cans. So it's all his own company. And so the interesting thing right off the bat is Albion was the name of the land that Fable took place in. So it's going back to the world of Albion, which is potentially cool. Like that's the last time anybody remembers him making a game that people actually wanted to play.
Yeah, but does so that's interesting. So like is that world not owned IP wise by Microsoft?
Apparently not. Apparently not. It must have traveled with him from Lionhead. Because I think Lionhead was no longer owned by Microsoft by the time Fable 3 came out. Because some of the people from Lionhead went to become Turn 10, which is why Turn 10 is now doing the new Fable.
Yeah. Well, there was also...
I guess there is a new Fable coming out that is Albion, so there has to be some kind of licensing.
Yeah, it's weird. But Masters of Albion is set in Albion, which is the setting in the Fable series. So that's what it is. So it's another... Yeah, it's just weird. I don't know. I don't know. I don't.
It looks like a sim, like a city sim / like tower defense game. There's no reason why that can't be a good mixture. Like that sounds like that could be a good game to me. But I mean, I guess we will have to see.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I hold no. I have no horses in this race.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So,
I would I would like to see it work out. I think it'd be
Yeah.
cool if it was good again, because I think you're right that like inside of Molyneux is a really interesting like uh developer with
Yeah.
like a lot of interesting ideas, and it'd be cool if he could find his way back to the scene. But I will not be pre-ordering. I guess
I won't be
put it.
pre-ordering anything either. I'm sure it'll show up in a humble bundle at some point.
Yeah, maybe.
So another one that kind of came out of nowhere. So I want to talk about this announcement, which completely caught me off guard. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel, but then I saw who the makers of this are, and I was like, ooh, I'm in. Secret Level.
I thought we might talk about this one. Yeah, absolutely.
This looks interesting.
So not a video game.
This is a Prime
It's time.
show.
This world has waited for your arrival.
So that right there was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah, piqued my interest as well.
It is you. You will open the door. Because you are the chosen.
Yeah. So 15 short stories.
Yeah, like an anthology series, right?
Yeah.
It's a new adventure.
Yeah. I'm sure
For
so you caught some of those.
Yep. Big franchises in this.
Mega Man, Warhammer,
Yep.
Sifu,
Dead Space.
God of War, Dead Space. Just so many. Yeah.
Come in. You have a game to play.
Spelunky is part of this.
Yeah. Yeah. Pac-Man.
Pac-Man. Yep.
I don't. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think it's a really cool.
If this was
idea.
anyone else, I'd be like, okay, this is gonna work. And then they were like, oh, behind makers of Love, Death, and Robots. I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
they did really good stuff. So, yeah,
I'll definitely be checking at least a couple of these out. Just because, like you said, Love, Death, and Robots had some really amazing stuff.
Armored Core Concord, of course.
You're doing one of the Concord ones. That's funny. I didn't realize that.
So, Armored Core Concord, Crossfire, Dungeons and Dragons, Exodus,
Yeah,
Honor
like
of
Crossfire. Like what's Crossfire here? Like not
you'll get
like
caught up in.
the board game. Like you get caught up in the
so.
Crossfire.
I think so. Okay,
I mean,
Dungeons
all
and
right.
Dragons, Exodus, Honor of Kings, Mega Man, New World, Pac-Man, and various PlayStation studio games, which would be Sifu, Spelunky, The Outer Worlds, Unreal Tournament, and Warhammer 40K.
I mean, Warhammer 40K right now is on a tear. I don't know if you've seen all the positive buzz for the new Warhammer Space Marine 2, or that like seems like it looks amazing. And so if they land that release and this turns out to be good,
it's getting its flowers in mainstream all of a sudden. And then we're going to get Warhammer players going, I hate it. I want to, don't make it mainstream.
Yeah. I haven't listened to a 40K player in a long time.
It's just because they've never left their basement.
Yeah. Hard to
get they're all broke.
Shout outs to my 40K friends. Shout outs to Cautious.
Oh God. Oh man. Yeah. So it's incredible. That's an incredible lineup of like franchises.
And they look visually amazing.
Yeah, and also like it's a way for some of these franchises to get some sort of like alternative media.
Yeah,
that isn't
that
a
transmedia
movie or
thing.
Committed. Yeah, it's a way for them to get like a short, like okay, Mega Man, like
I'll watch a Mega Man short. Let's go. Why
give
not?
me Mega Man anything. Like I will.
Sure.
I will take anything Mega Man. I'm a huge Mega Man fan, and it's a Capcom series that just doesn't get enough like love from Capcom. It gets like cameos, and it gets like pre-order now and get like a Buster and like Monster Hunter, or
he's a mascot more than a franchise in some ways.
Yeah, he's become a
Right,
mascot, but like it's Mega Man 11 was really good. I loved it a
Sure.
lot. So, it's actually one of the last like 5 games that I beat. So it's kind of interesting. So, like at least one of the last 5 games that I beat. So, yeah, it just again, I'm hoping this stuff maybe reinvigorate some of these franchises. Maybe they're like, oh, we want more of this, and they're like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you got to feel like it's part of what they're doing here is like
Right.
testing sort of like popular interest in like both adaptations, but also just these franchises.
So speaking of dead franchises, real quick, that like out of nowhere, because now that I remember, I just have Mega Man dead, old. Do you get ads and stuff for Kickstarter stuff?
Some.
Have you seen the Kickstarter for the Legacy of Kain stuff?
Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't not because I was getting ads, but I saw some folks talking about this. Yep.
Someone somewhere read my dream journal. Yes. There is one franchise that it's that style of like vampiric lore and whatever else that I love, and it's Legacy of Kain.
Sure.
Legacy of Kain, the original like top-down weird game on PlayStation. And then after that, we got Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, which was a completely different game, and then spiraled into an amazing series. The Soul Reaver 1, Soul Reaver 2. Then we had
how many games were in that series? I never really played the Legacy of Kain series.
4. Legacy of Kain, Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 2, Legacy of Kain, and then I think I want to say 3, or the third one in that series was Defiance, if I'm not mistaken. That's one where you play as well. Oh, and then there's Blood Omen 2. So that's another one.
Okay.
And then of course the horrible, weird MMO FPS game Nosgoth that came out that I don't count.
I don't know anything about that.
It was a service game, one of these games that like it came and went. It was like a spin-off? Like a spin-off shooter / like action MOBA. I don't know. I don't think they knew what they wanted. And it was based in the world of Nosgoth, but like had none of the characters in it, and you build your own. Anyway, the point is Soul Reaver is a series that's long been dead, and it's because of companies going away, like Crystal Dynamics, and the IP's been passed back and forth. And then one of the original creators, what's her name? She did Uncharted.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. The main Uncharted writer, right?
Yeah. So she was one of the main writers for Legacy of Kain.
Amy Hennig.
There we go. Yeah. There we go. So she was one of the main writers for Legacy of Kain and that series and whatever else. And so it's kind of been one of those, like, it's owned by a company that won't let anyone else touch it.
Right.
And like Eidos
getting hoarded.
Yeah. So it's just in the vault and not being touched by anyone, not being used by anybody. And so I think the fan base is there, but the fan base is getting older and it's being forgotten. So
I mean, you figure to launch a new Legacy Kain game, you'd really have to pitch it like a new IP in a lot.
Well, the only way, so the way you pitch the surefire way, and I'm please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the way that people have been doing this, and the way I think Alan Wake did it, is re-release your original games as a remaster on new consoles.
Sure, yeah, to like pave the way.
To pave the way, let people play those games again.
Yeah.
And then release your next one the following year. It gives you more time in development.
It helps.
You give those old games to a smaller, like what is it, Blue Point or one of the other companies that do all of the like remasters. Let them do the remaster while you're working on the new follow-up.
Sure. You
don't have to invest a ton into it. See how those do, and then if those do well enough, release your next one.
Yeah.
And it's, if you've never played the Soul Reaver series or Legacy of Kain, it is one of those deep lore games. For not being a Japanese RPG style game, which I feel like those tend to have most of like the weird, like convoluted lore. This has got a big convoluted lore story. And so in Kickstarter, they decided to drop a graphic novel. I don't know where we're getting a graphic novel at the beginning of next year, and it's a prequel. It's basically the story of Cain, and a lot of the stuff that's never been seen, only been told in like exposition or flashbacks in the other games. And so it's really cool to see. And this Kickstarter is amazing.
It's pretty well funded.
It's pretty well
At this
funded,
point.
I think, and I hopefully that shows that the fan base is there and they're willing to spend, because it's nuts. I really was not expecting anything like this, and I think it came out of the blue. Let me find this thing.
Who's the talent behind it? Does anybody like that folks know?
I don't know. Well, I mean, maybe let's. I'll pull it up here. So here's the video on it. Ooh. The soundtrack was always really good, and this looks like it's a whole new soundtrack. One of the options in the Kickstarter is like a vinyl of the soundtrack.
I saw the vinyl pressing. That's cool.
Like latex masks, full on 3-foot replicas of the Reaver.
Yeah. Interesting.
Some of them are like you get all the shirts.
Yeah.
Like it's like
how does it look to you? Like as a guy who's been following the franchise for a while, is this is the quality good? Does it feel like the games felt? Like where are you at with that?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Good point here. So, I mean, look. Honestly, this is one of those times where the content is so forgotten that any drop of it is going to get devoured. I can't judge it, and I'm willing to give it a chance because obviously we've had nothing. I mean, this isn't even one of those like franchises where they've had multiple little like upstarts that try to bring it back and then it fails repeatedly. The only one was Nosgoth, and that was just that's basically Crystal Dynamics and them taking the name and seeing if they could milk it for something. But they didn't decide to use any of it. And I mean, if it's just the voice acting in the original games was so good. There's just a lot of really good. It was one of those early PlayStation games that came out that had a lot of audio, like a lot of cutscene audio, very much, very dramatic, very well. The acting was just well done. And
it makes sense with Amy Hennig working on it. That's like she built her career on that kind of stuff. Yeah,
so that was her thing, and then at the same time, the gameplay was there. Like it was very much a Zelda-like game, kind of a dungeon crawler kind of thing, where like the Soul Reaver, I mean, the character, you unlock powers, you get those powers allow you to access new parts of the world, aka also that new power will probably be the way that you beat the next boss kind of thing. I mean, it was literally the Zelda formula, but in a different way. And the character, it was also the character that you play as, Raziel. He's a vampire that's murdered at the end of the first game on PlayStation. He's basically murdered by Cain. And you die, and when you die as a vampire, but then you're brought back by this elder god, and this elder god is like, oh, I need you to do this, and he gives you the power to feed off souls, and so like you're a vampire, but also you can feed. So it's like a really cool story, and you can shift between the world of the dead and the world of the living. So like you kind of do this like movement, and you kind of shift the world, but the mechanics are like sometimes the world would shape in a certain way, so you have to stand in specific places, and then you shift again, and then all of a sudden the terrain would change, and just very much like light world, dark world kind of Zelda-esque gameplay. And it was absolutely an amazing game series, and I think part 1, part 2 are great, and then Defiance wasn't the best, but it was really good because you finally got a different part of the story, which kind of redeemed Kane. And then all I know is it was a really great series, and it ended on a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
and we never got any more from it.
Yeah.
That's kind of the big
I remember people saying that the Darksiders games were, in terms of gameplay, kind of a little bit of a spiritual successor to some
Very
of
much so,
what
yes.
they were doing. And
Yes.
I played those, and I did enjoy those. That kind of like take on the Zelda formula was, I think, pretty interesting.
Yes.
So
if you like
it'd be
those,
cool.
you could definitely pick these up. Like,
It'd
I
be cool
mean,
to see these come back.
I would love to see a remaster of part of Legacy King Soul Reaver, and
Yeah.
maybe even the first one again, and just re-release them in some fashion on new consoles with some new
Interesting. I feel
skins.
like mood and aesthetics wise, I like I said, I never played these games, but I always remember like seeing the boxes on the shelves and like reading about them in EGM, and, like, because they were very like distinctive, and they felt very part of the kind of that like Todd McFarlane era, you know, of like
Yeah.
Spawn
That
and like
Joe
that dark-
Mad style
Yeah.
artwork.
Yeah. And I mean, some of that stuff has definitely come back in a big way. So
Yeah.
it feels like there might be room for it. I was just, as you were kind of talking, I was looking up some stuff about the guy behind it, Josh Viola.
Okay.
He's got a pretty interesting background. He's not worked on a lot of like really heavy comic books, but he did co-write this like slasher series that I was somewhat familiar with in 23 called True Believers, and I was familiar with it because he co-wrote it with Stephen Graham Jones. Is like a award-winning novelist. He's an extremely good writer, a Native American who writes amazing horror. And it seems like most of his work is in kind of like B to like sort of schlocky kind of like horror stuff. Like he produced a reboot of the Deathstalker film like franchise, like the Roger Corman kind of like thing. He did he like co-produced a couple of things with Slash, like the guitarist on like some horror stuff. He seems like he steps in and kind of supports other people trying to explore some schlocky horror stuff. So, and it's an interesting angle that I could see working out if it produces something interesting and fun.
Again, we need people like this again. I feel like
I'm all for that.
I'm all for it.
Absolutely.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, 100%.
This Kickstarter is interesting because it's everything I want, but it's everything I want with a game. Like if this was like if this was like, hey, we're re-releasing the games, we need a starter for it. You'll get the games, this comic, and then here's all this extra stuff as well. If you pay the big one, I think it's $2,500.
Sure.
$2,500, and you get like all of it, which is like, I don't know, just a ton. It's like all the hats and all the
a lot of goodies.
All the goodies, but all those goodies feel like goodies to me. Like they're goodies that would go really well.
They're like stretch goals you'd like to see with a game.
Yeah, and it's just like that's the only thing that I'm gonna see. I'm like, it's a comic, and I love it. I'm glad we're gonna get some, but it's also gonna leave me with the worst case of like video game blue balls.
I feel
it's like it's everything I would want. I want to play this in a game, but I can't play it. I'm gonna read it. It's gonna feel great. But it's it's not the same, man. It's just not the same.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, man. I get it. I hope it stirs up some interest. I mean, obviously with the funding it's getting, clearly there's a lot of people biting. Comics and graphic novels with that stuff are tough because they can sometimes not make it outside of the like circle that people talk about it in. You know what I mean? Like,
right. I mean that happened.
Jump the fence.
That happened a lot with shows, right? I think they did it with like Buffy and there's a few other ones that got like comic book seasons post the finales.
Yeah.
So like season 18 of Buffy is a comic book, you know, and that sort of thing. And so technically that's canon, but then like the showrunner could be like, no, not really. It wasn't because it was.
That's how like Avatar and Legend of Korra have similar kind of like post-show comic book runs, which are cool and I think great for the fans. But I think like when you're talking about trying to resurrect a little bit of a franchise, like
they always tend to ignore those or cut those out because they're like those were not accessible media.
Right. Right.
that anyone can go pick up and watch. We can't put those on Netflix for you to watch them again. And then, so like, we're just going to ignore them and go somewhere else, go a different route. And that's what I'm feeling. And this is kind of the thing where it's like, it's cool that we're going to get more of the story written, but will any of this really be the canon or whatever to the story? And the lore is so important. And also not seeing Amy's name on here in any way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a good point of concern. Is like, it doesn't seem like many people that were involved in the original stuff are involved in this.
So this is like fancy fanfic.
Yeah, it's kind of what it feels like, which can be good, right?
Can be good.
But
I watched a whole 2-hour documentary on Sonic.
Sure. Yeah.
And they were talking about how like Sonic and the Sonic Adventures comic book was by Archie and all this kind of stuff, and how it like passed and forth between different hands and whatever, and how this like fanfic writer wrote such good fanfic that they eventually hired him on, brought him on, and then his reworking of a whole world or whatever is kind of what really brought it back up because of how well the fans really liked the fanfic. So like fanfic, you're right, can be good, but also
you're running a risk, and especially if it matters so much, which it sounds like to you it does, to like maintain a certain kind of canon to a property. That's where like it can be especially like tough, right? Because it's like, where, like, how well do they know the series Bible, right? Like where are they like taking their stuff from? And that's almost where you want to see, like, and obviously this wouldn't satisfy the fans, but like you start getting to like, okay, can we do like homage or like spiritual successor kind of territory, like kind of like what they did with Bloodstained, you know, where it's like the original Castlevania guys got together and made a Castlevania like thing that was like a tribute or an homage, but it wasn't Castlevania, and it knew it wasn't. It was just kind of like in that space. I don't know. That's tough, man. I hope it turns out well. I mean, they certainly got the funding for it. I'm curious what they'll do with that funding. Because boy, that it's almost at $1 million.
Yeah, there is and I'm trying to find it. I don't know if the website still exists. There used to be this giant website. The lostworlds.net is what it's called. This is what it's called. Let me tell you how deep this is. I mean, this is pre like Reddit and all this kind of stuff.
Sure, yeah.
So just to tell you how deep this game and this lore is, and tangent on this game, but I'm just want to talk about it because I think it's interesting to even see this media back in any form. This website was created by like a fan, right? And the game was known for having been trimmed for content because of how big it was on PlayStation, right? Like it could only fit so much. And so on the game data, like in the game, it's been farmed and mined, and they have found like extra levels, incomplete levels, missing pieces of content, bosses that should have been fought, parts of the story, that sort of stuff. And every game then had that / talk to developer and whatever. So this website is literally like this kind of thing where they went through and I'm
looking at this now, man. This is cool.
It's just one of those, like, if you're into like game dev and whatever else, this kind of goes through the entire like every game, every like little bit of it, including like deleted stuff from the game, graphics that were replaced, you know, and then how it explains it in the story. And it's just like really deep lore. It's basically a wiki before wikis. Like it was, that's how deep this went.
This is deep. This is very cool.
Yeah, but what's really cool also is because they've got some like things like using cheat devices on special. You can control things and find things in the game that were left there but like never went, you know, that sort of thing. It's just really cool debug menu and just all sorts of stuff. That's how big this community was for a very long time. They find
very
little
intense,
bits and pieces,
very committed
to find the story, because the story was pretty interesting. It was ahead of its time when it came down to this type of story. And I mean, last updated 2012 is the last update for this particular one.
I mean, it started in like 2002, it looks like. When the first archive post is. So I mean, like,
I mean, it's a deep old website. You could see it in this old one. You can see the style of this old website.
I was gonna say, just like as an aside, I love seeing this kind of like
it's like an old, it's like a GeoCities kind of website where
rules. I love that this is still accessible.
It's still up. Someone's still paying for it. Obviously, like the domain's still up. And yeah, like I said, this is stuff to talk about. Like, so this whole section is just about the first game, Blood Omen on PlayStation, and the style of game, and every deleted dungeons and things they found inside of all of that, deleted outposts, deleted, like, just so funny that's the kind of cool stuff that I like about old games like this.
Totally.
And I guess this is kind of a retro game in a way. At this point, I guess Soul Reaver 2 came out, I can't even remember when, or Defiance was on Xbox One, like the original Xbox.
Yeah.
Not Xbox One,
Yeah,
the
I
original
remember that.
Xbox.
I remember that. Yep.
So Defiance was the last game that came out in the series, honestly, that and Blood Omen 2. But those two games they're what, 20 years old now?
I mean, 20 years old at least. Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting to see this franchise come back in any way. Does that mean we're going to get something more? I don't know. I would love to see this. I would love to see Crystal Dynamics.
But some ripples, some rumblings.
Yeah. But how much does it raise so far on
almost $1 million?
That's a lot of money
for almost $1 million.
For a franchise that is, and it's all it is a comic book.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like there's enough people out there that are like willing to be like, here's $30, give me a t-shirt, and like, let's see what you do. And that's not nothing.
Yeah.
To go back to Gamescom a little bit, there's a couple things I wanted to shout out that I thought were
go for
it for me.
Any indie games? Anything that you saw that looked good?
So the indie games I haven't caught up with yet. From what was talked about. I guess I don't know if this counts as indie, but Reanimal looks quite good, which is by the people that did Little Nightmares.
Yes,
and it's their new like co-op horror game that looks I think just as good as the Little Nightmares games. But the big thing I was excited about is Civ 7, man.
Yeah,
we got a deep dive into Civ 7, and I'm ready. I've played every Civ since Civ 1. I love that game. And my favorites are Civ 4, probably. Civ 4 is probably my favorite. And Alpha Centauri, which wasn't a Civ game, but was basically a Civ game. But Civ 7 looks good. Exactly. Civ 7, it looks like they're taking some cues from some other 4X turn-based games that have been coming out over the past 5 years, especially the Endless Legend series, which I think is a really wonderful 4X strategy series, where they're adding a lot more customizability across your total gameplay to like generate more interest in like mid to late game balancing. Which I think is a great idea. I know it's been a little controversial because I think people are really married to the idea of like, oh, I want my civilization to stay the civilization I picked from the beginning. But basically, they're introducing these things where you have different ages, and in each transition to each new age, there's 3 ages: antiquity, exploration, and modern. And in each transition, you leave behind attributes of your civilization and choose new ones based off of a different direction that you take. And so you don't leave all of them behind, but you pick a couple to keep, basically, which I think is good. I think that's worked really well in other contexts. Age of Wonders 4 has some of that as well, which Age of Wonders 4 is a fantastic game. So I'm excited. The video, the deep dive gameplay video they put out, which was like 25 minutes long.
Yeah, 25 minutes. I saw that.
The funniest. Here is a series of like dudes who definitely just read biographies in their easy chairs when they're not working on stuff in a row. Like they're standing in front of like libraries. It's like, it was the most nerdy thing I've seen in a long time. It was very funny. But I'm excited about it. Firaxis, I think, is a wonderful developer who doesn't tend to miss.
They know what they know, and they take their time, and I'm sure Civ 7 will have 50 more DLCs and whatever else. There'll be like expansions and whatever else. And
their design philosophy for Civilization is really interesting. They've had this philosophy in place in Civ 3, where they want to leave behind a third of the game from the last one. They want to improve another third of the game, and then we want to add a third of the game in terms of new features. And so I think they've delivered to various extents on their different installations, but I really think they're delivering on that philosophy with this Civ 7.
Is there a civilization that has never been played in Civ?
Yeah, I'm sure there are, because they're adding ones this time that haven't. There's civilizations, and there's also leaders, which is cool. They're opening up. They don't just have to be political leaders anymore. You can mix and match with like scientific leaders or cultural leaders, which have been in the game mechanically before, but never as like the head of your civilization who's doing like negotiations and adding its bonuses.
Can I play Mexico and have Frida Kahlo as my
I believe so. Like, I
be
believe
cool.
Frida's in there. That would be dope, right? I'm into that. I don't know if it's like Mexico or if it is like there's like a number of different Latin like
Yeah. Look, just let her
civilizations.
be like super communist, like
Yeah, man.
it's
Absolutely.
like,
Let
for
her
the
live her
people.
dreams.
Yeah. That'd be so awesome.
So I think
Oh
that
man.
looks really good. I'm excited about it. They also showed some more Monster Hunter Wilds, which I talked about before. I know that's not your fave franchise, but
No,
man,
but yeah,
I
but
think this thing
it's
looks
it is franchise.
juicy. It
Yeah.
looks amazing. We got an Infinite Nikki update, which I don't know if you saw,
Yes.
but that's amusing. I think obviously the biggest surprise was probably the Borderlands 4 announcement, which we can talk about in a second. But
It
for
was a surprise,
me,
not a surprise, because I mean we all kind of guessed it.
I mean, Pitchford's been sort of like blabbing
Milking
about
the
it
4
for the
comments
past like year,
yeah.
But for me, the most interesting new announcement was a new Mafia game.
Yeah, the old world, right? So it's
The old country, yeah,
the old country. It's basically
set in 1900 Sicily.
Sicily, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think the
The
Mafia games
Sicilian Mafia. Yeah.
I mean, the Mafia games are, I think, uneven, but that first Mafia game is like real good. It's real good. So it'll be cool to see them coming back to that because their remasters, their remakes of the Mafia games have been extremely solid.
Yeah, they have been.
So,
I saw Payday 3 got like a big old update, and
which I think Pedro was excited about that. Weirdly, he's a big Payday guy.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me again, shame on me again. Because it's like Payday 3 has been a disaster of a launch for them, and I think they're working at it. They're just chipping away, trying to fix it. So I think it's running now.
They've got a very dedicated fan base as well. That was keeping Payday 2 alive for probably well past where it.
We're getting Monument Valley 3.
I saw that. Which is gonna be cool. I've played 1 and 2. That's a cool little puzzle game. Very pretty, very
puzzle
cool.
Game. The Dune MMO looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. I think I don't play MMOs generally speaking, so I probably won't play that one. But it looked cool. It didn't feel super Dune-y to me. I don't know. Where do you like? I think it'd be very hard to do a very Dune-y MMO.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whole purpose of this is supposed to be kind of like a whole like alternate universe, right?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
It's supposed to be like, what if Paul didn't happen? Like, what if? Yeah. And so, like, then you kind of run with a world. So I don't know where they can go. They can go different ways. Like certain people, certain leaders, certain things never didn't happen. So like, there's lots of things that like, the Fremen aren't the way that they were post Paul, that sort of thing. So like, where we're at, I don't know. It looks interesting. I'm interested to try to play it. I'm always willing to give an MMO a try a little bit. Give it a good 50 plus hours to try it out and see how it works out. And if I'm bored of it or whatever, I think the hook for MMOs are like, if you can't hook me in like the first like 10 to 15 hours, I'm done. Like I get it. Like I know MMOs are like the long slog, but people don't got time for that anymore.
Yeah,
there's too many service games out there for me.
Yeah, I mean, there's like there's a few. I mean, I guess this has always been the story of MMOs, where there's like a few really dominant ones, and then there's a lot of like also rans. Like that's kind of how MMOs have always, I guess, functioned.
Yeah, but also like MMOs in general as a game style doesn't work as much anymore, which is so funny because we love games for service, but then we also hate them. Like games like Fortnite and all those stick around and they're still around, and there's levels and season passes and they still come and go and we get care. But MMOs like World of Warcraft, those are the old ones, and those stick around because they've got a player base that's got years and years of gameplay. But trying to bring a new game into that same realm, it's like
launching a new MMO is really difficult right now.
Because are you a games for service or are you an MMO? And if you play too much like WoW, then you won't get new players because new players don't like that style of gameplay.
I guess like Final Fantasy 14 is probably the exception to that rule because I know like people are wild about that one.
But it's such a hard game
to expansions. Like you got to like play.
Do you think does that game have the following because it's Final Fantasy or because it's a good game?
Oh no, I think it's because it's a good game.
Okay,
yeah,
so in second, do you think that?
I mean, I'm sure that's Final Fantasy helps. Like to be clear, obviously.
So do you think also that they keep giving it the shot like to fix it and repair it and kind of keep coming at it because it's Final Fantasy. Like I feel like if anything, that was one of those games when it launched. If I remember correctly, that's the game that launched and then they like ripped the world out, right? Like they started over from scratch. Right?
Yeah, they had a pretty big world reset, but since
they rewrote the story, like they started all over again.
Like their releases over the past 5 to 6 years
Yeah.
have been consistent and huge, and like as far as I can tell, really well liked. The most recent one just came out this summer, and
we were at PAX, and they
that's right.
They had the big gameplay thing,
and every time one of those comes out, I think it gets new players in. Is my sense of it. But I think again, it needs to be the exception.
But also like, do people? I can't. I'm trying to figure out who these people are. Like, who are these people that like are coming brand new players and go, I'm going to play? Is it because it has a lot of the like anime aesthetic that a lot of players are looking for? And then
no, I mean, I think probably a lot of them are like people that just like JRPGs and don't play MMOs often because like, I mean, like I'm not a person who ever played an MMO, but like I've tried out the Final Fantasy MMO because I'm like, I hear the story is really good in this. Like that's why I played.
Oh, that's right. And also, like if I remember correctly, every expansion is a small like game.
Yeah.
Itself.
Yeah, it gives you a new campaign that's like different for every single class.
And then you play it from start to finish, and you can end game that, and then you're done with that for a little bit. You can then play it again for a while, and then
it's just a very. Comes up. I think I would characterize it as a very content-rich MMO. Like there's so much content for it. But like besides that, I don't hear much about like any MMOs that people are playing.
World of Warcraft
is like there. World of Warcraft always has a fan base, like you said. Also, Final Fantasy 14's been around since 2010.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's like that for it to feel. Man, that's wild, actually, because Dawn Trail was the one that dropped this year. I mean, it sold well. People loved it.
It feels like the new MMO, but it is an old MMO, and
it is an old MMO,
and that's what I'm saying. Like the MMO genre on its own doesn't feel like we've had a lot of new because
no, you're 100% right.
They are just not. When they do, like there have been a few that have come out and then they go away.
Yeah, I cannot remember the last actual MMO. I remember that. Like, I guess if you want to call Sea of Thieves like an MMO, you could. And that's done well. I think it's closer to an MMO than like a Destiny is.
Did you know that? Did you know that DC Universe Online is still up and running?
Yeah, isn't that
They've
wild?
got a huge community, and like every time I look at it, everything about it looks really cool, art wise and like
have you ever tried it?
Wise. I have a little bit, but it's just like
again,
it's kind of a dead world with a lot to players.
I can never climb that hill. It's just not something I can do.
Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to shout out. Are you familiar with the tabletop solo RPG 1000 Year Vampire?
Yes. Yeah.
1000 Year Vampire
notebook and everything, where you're like writing down and you're kind of go through the single player 1000 Year Vampire.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
So basically it's a solo RPG where you play as a 1000 Year Vampire, and you roll dice to turn pages to get to new prompts. You write those prompts, you build your character as you go. Very, very cool little game. Tim Hutchings, who is a friend of Pedro's. Pedro knows him and has helped him do some playtesting. He has a sequel to this wonderful game coming out. It's currently on BackerKit, called So You've Met a 1000 Year Vampire. And it is about being a regular person who encounters this 1000 Year Vampire and doing a solo RPG around that. And I think that is such a cool idea. I'm very excited to see what direction he takes it in. It looks great.
I wonder what page did you just get eaten by this 1000 Year Vampire?
I mean, that's a great question, because like when you play 1000 Year Vampire, the kind of point of that game, the feel of that game is like it's a lot of heartbreak because you keep making these connections and then you leave them behind because you're immortal and they're not. Yeah. And so in this, you're going to be the mortal one.
Which means you don't last very long. Like in the span of a game in 1000, you're just the spec, right? Like you're just like
exactly
a footnote in this person's, like in this vampire's life. So
exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So very cool. Unexpected little sequel that I thought I'd bring to people's attention.
Gamescom did bring one piece of news that I wanted to share, only because this is opening night and they got on the stage, and I want to shout this out because this was from a small team based out of Houston, Asian developers. And it was a game that I played at PAX 2 years ago that I
Okay.
absolutely loved. I like fell in love with it. It was such a fun little game. It's a like 4 player. I guess what's top down, not roguelike. I mean, sort of like you run around. Everyone's got like a weapon.
Okay.
You're trying to run through you're 4 kids in a museum or a hotel, I think, and you're fighting these like demons, ghost demons, whatever. And at the end of it, you fight a big boss, and the boss, it's all about like nightmares and whatever else. It's called Begone Beast, and it's a top-down 4-player action game, and I loved it. And so it's coming to early access. They were missing at PAX. I hadn't heard anything from them, but I've been following. I have them wishlisted, and they had a trailer that dropped for the art style is really funny.
I remember seeing this. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we finally got a new little trailer, so I want to share that because I thought this was really cool. We had a blast every time. A little girl, the art style is just so funny. It's changed a lot since when I played it.
Some nice environments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So kind of gauntlet-y.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But their flashlights are their weapons.
Weapons. That's cool.
Oh, they added a new character. See. So the screaming has like there's like a mechanic to it. You actually scream to like get things to. I remember fighting this. You fight this like the first boss you fight. Like the end credits, you have to run from this thing. In the end, I remember you have to capture it. It looks great. I'm excited for it. Multiplayer wise, I had a blast playing it, and it looks really fun. I'm glad that the developers are still alive. Sometimes you see those games and you like them a lot,
they
and then they
for a while,
disappear, and you're like, "What happened?" And this is one of those games that I thought had happened because I didn't hear or see anything from it, and there it is on the main stage on opening night at Gamescom. So
that's cool.
Very cool. I'm glad that's coming out. I'm glad we're getting some early access, which means it'll get some good play testing online. It seems to be the style of game that is really hitting it off nowadays with the youth.
I was gonna say, hopefully, it picks up some streaming.
That's
how the early access can really work for you if you're doing it in like co-op.
Yeah, and it's also like it's got the horror vibes. You're gonna get like the big streamers, and you're gonna get like the chats, and they're gonna go on it, and there's gonna be like the overreactions, like oh my god, like you're gonna get all the like jump scares and everything else, and that'll just be popular, and hopefully it gets a good community because I really enjoyed it, and I also like the fact that they were like a hometown developer.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. That's awesome. That's awesome.
So yeah, that was the big one. I'm sure there was other stuff that I missed, but you know what? None of it caught my eye. None of it caught my attention enough to like be like, oh, let's I want to play it.
I mean, there was a new this wasn't Gamescom, I don't think, but it was like timed with Gamescom. Man, the new Dragon Age trailer looks so good. I am so pumped.
Interesting that you say it looks good. I haven't neither here nor there on it, but like I know that there was a lot of like worry on whether it was going to be good or not.
Yeah. The new trailer looks amazing. Super action packed. Very like well directed, and I think the animation looks amazing.
So, real quick before we leave, because we're already way past our bedtime when it comes down to it, but I want to talk to you real quick about The Crow.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Not Crow stuff. The Crow.
The Crow.
I don't really have any thoughts on it. I've never really interacted with the Crow like franchise. But I think FKA Twigs is in it, right? Which is interesting.
This is gonna be one of those movies that's just gonna get pummeled to death by the old fan base, and it's gonna.
You think so?
Be oh yeah, it'll be hate reviewed, and then it'll find some sort of love in streaming or whatever. But I'm excited for it. What's interesting to me is all I see are the takes of like, oh, it's ruin it. Like my generation, I love them to death.
I know people are very precious about The Crow. Like people are super precious about The Crow.
But like, I think they're missing the point of The Crow. The crow isn't one crow; it is a crow gets created. Like the intro monologue to the first movie, it's like when tragedy happens to a love, to like a couple, or and love is lost in a very tragic way. A crow is born. Like that is literally like in the intro. So like, why can't we just take this as like another crow? Like, can we just move on?
I guess like. Yeah, is that like, are people just don't want another movie with a different?
They just want to. They're like, oh, shake fists. I'm like,
I just looked up the director on IMDb, and this guy has a habit of making movies that piss fandoms off. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's got Snow White and the Huntsman in here.
Yeah.
Which there was a lot of fan hate for.
Oh
He's
yeah.
got Ghost in the Shell. He directed Ghost in the Shell with
again. I'm
Scarlett
not a
Johansson.
fan of his casting, but I don't hate the movie.
Foundation. He directed some episodes of Foundation, the Apple TV series, which boy, I know a lot of Foundation fans that hate that series. And now we've got The Crow. So he's unafraid to wade into those waters. It seems he's battle hardened.
I like this guy. I like this guy. I like this guy. I'm now I might use one of my my AMC stubs to go see it.
Nice. Just like the cut of his jib.
I like the cut of his jib. I like people that push the boundaries of it. Also, Beetlejuice 2. Beetlejuice.
Yeah. I saw the interview. An interview with Winona Ryder, who seemed very excited to be promoting a new Beetlejuice movie. But I've seen Beetlejuice. I think I like it fine. I don't have a super strong attachment to it, so we'll see. I might get to see this one or not.
It is a franchise that's loved by its community when it came out. I love it a lot. I think it's a great movie. I love that it's not recasted. I love that everyone came back for it.
Yeah, I think that's very cool. I agree.
So that is very cool. Everyone came back, then there's got to be some love for it. This is also a movie that's got like a very, 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 very deep like sequel hell development.
Yes. Yes. This was a hard movie to get made.
Yeah, it like just did not want to get made. I think the last one was the last one I remember was jokingly was Kevin Smith was given the option to write it. Remember Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian?
Yeah.
And he was just like, what? did we not just say enough with the first Beetlejuice? Does he need to go Hawaiian? Like
I agree with you on this, Rolls. I don't see any reason why Beetlejuice 2 can't work. I mean,
the only reason Top Gun 2 works is because Tom Cruise has like ethereal Scientology magic that makes movies like that work. He keeps Mission Impossible movies going with enough thetans that he like consumes, right? Like I think that's the way it works.
The problem with Tom Cruise is the movies he makes are damn good, unfortunately, right? Like that's the thing. Like Mission Impossible Fallout, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, those are good ass.
They're great movies. Yeah. But Jack Reacher was not a very good movie, and yet it still got a sequel.
Yeah, it did not do well though.
The first one didn't do well, and not enough for a sequel.
It did not do well.
Yet it got a sequel because Tom Cruise. Like
he produced those also. Like that was his money. He was obsessed with those.
It's so funny because he's like the antithesis of not Jack Reacher, right? Like
yeah.
He's not
if you compare him to the Amazon Prime Jack Reacher, like those are really, really different dudes. And to be clear, I have strong feelings about either one, but yeah,
pick Tom Cruise up and just swallow him. I love the Amazon show. It's a very good show.
I haven't seen the show. I did see the first Jack Reacher, and I thought it was fine. I liked it for what it was. I would not say it was a great movie, but I thought it was
Jack
fine.
Reacher is a great Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie. It is not a good Jack Reacher movie.
It's better than only maybe one Mission Impossible film.
What, the most recent one?
No,
No,
but
2.
Jack. Yeah, Mission Impossible 2. It is maybe better than Mission Impossible 2.
Mission
Um,
Impossible 2 is.
It is
I
a
love
goofy
I,
movie.
I love bad movies.
Yeah,
That movie makes me laugh.
I was gonna say Mission Impossible 2 is fun bad. Like that is a fun movie.
I love
the motorcycle sequence at the end, man, when they're like jousting on motorcycles.
jousting the motorcycle,
Unbelievable.
or the BMW ballet.
Yeah, bud.
The like
man.
boom, and then they like spin out together. Like,
say what you want about John Woo, he is a visionary. He had a plan. He would not let anybody tell him no.
That he's the Zack Snyder of Asian cinema.
I mean, I would disagree with that. Obviously,
that's why I said it.
Yeah, I think that's probably a bad take.
Zack Snyder likes shaky cam and out of focus shots, and John Woo likes doves.
He does like doves.
Of course he does.
The man loves doves.
John Woo, like, I saw Face Off. Like,
they both like a lot of homoerotic tension in their supposedly straight movies, man. They both love that. I'll tell you that.
Both do. They both love certain actors, and they want to cast them over and over again.
Yeah, it's true too. You're building the case, man.
Stronghold. Did you ever play Stronghold?
The game? No.
John Woo Stronghold. His like.
Yeah. I did not play that.
Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of movies, I am embarking on a watch list challenge. The website Letterboxd, every year a group of users create like a bunch of different themes, and you pick one movie for each week for each theme that you've never seen. So like, for instance, the third week the theme is like nice core, so you get a list of like movies that are just like real nice, real good vibes, and you watch one of them that you haven't seen before.
What's the website?
Letterboxd. Do you know Letterboxd? You should be checking out Letterboxd. Great website. It's Letterboxd, but it's BOXD instead of XED. It's basically just like IMDb, but it's much better designed, and it's more focused on like user reviews and interactions and community stuff. But every year I do this challenge, and I usually fail, but I'm going to try and do a lot better this year. So I'm going to try and commit every week. I'm going to watch one of these movies, and I'll talk about it at least a little bit here. Like I'll give you like a minute to 5 minutes, maybe more than that if it's a really good one. But I'm really excited about this list. I got a lot of things on here that I've been meaning to watch for a long time, and I'm going to finally get around to them. So, including Godzilla -1 in week 6, which I'm very excited to watch.
Okay, I'm gonna check this out. So they've got this. Is it a social thing? Like you got to go find this post, or is it like on their website? Like
yeah, it's a user generated thing. So like, but it pops up on the front. So like that's the Letterboxd. It is social. It's the kind of thing you make an account. But if you go to if you just go to letterboxd.com/jwood, you will see mine. And then you can click on, so that's like my little watch list. So you can see my little reviews there. But if you go to lists where it says kind of across that top one, that top one is the 10th annual Letterboxd season challenge. And if you click the little kind of list menu above where it says read notes, you see how there's like a grid view and then there's a list view. Click that list view.
This one.
Yeah, that's where you'll see the prompts themselves, and so you'll see kind of like what they mean.
Possession.
It's cool because like basically.
Oh, are these your choices?
These are my choices for these prompts. Yep. And so I didn't write the prompts; those were written by the users. But that's my choice to answer those prompts. So I haven't seen any of these movies, and I'm going to watch all of them.
So was your choice Possession or?
Yes, my choice was Possession.
Okay, I was like American History.
So the theme is X-rated films for that first week, like mainstream X-rated films. So like
is Possession an X-rated film?
It came out and it was X-rated. It's a horror movie about a possession. Sam Neill, Jurassic Park's own Sam Neill, stars in it. Yeah, so it was fun to put the list together. If you want to follow along,
you mean Event Horizon, Sam Neill, right?
I do. I mean, that is correct. I do mean Event Horizon, Sam Neill.
Everyone knows him as Jurassic Park guy, like Grant.
I love Sam Neill, man.
I love Sam Neill. Sam Neill and Event Horizon is one of those roles that you're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like I was scarred for life from that movie. That movie.
I have The Abyss on this list, which I expect to have similar experiences in.
Oh, you've never seen The Abyss?
Never seen The Abyss. I'm going to catch up with it. I'm excited.
Whoa.
I'm excited.
Okay, that's an interesting one to watch because
That was
I
the
don't know
one
how
I picked.
purist you are. See if you can find a DVD copy of it.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So there's some like version
So it's
differences.
what's his face?
It's Cameron, right?
Cameron, yeah.
Yeah, James Cameron.
And his newest his remasters are always like tonally different.
Interesting.
He has a big problem with like he's kind of got George Lucas syndrome with remasters.
Ridley Scott does that some too.
Yeah, he comes back in and he changes lighting
Like
and it
fiddles.
changes tone. So like, I mean, you could see people just like up in arms about like Terminator and Terminator 2. Terminator 1 in general, like the dark tone of the movie, and all of a sudden you've got like neon blue color changes in tone, and it just like changes the entire like dynamic of that whole moment, as opposed to being like dark, like menacing robot to like all of a sudden like well lit weird thing. Like it's just like that kind of stuff. So if you can watch the DVD version of it, while it's not the best quality, you'll get a better like transfer as opposed to the 4K one, which got released a year ago or so, and that one he just like completely there's whole threads about that movie, all of them, because he did the same thing with True Lies just recently, because he likes to run everything through 4K through Topaz.
Okay.
So if you're familiar with Topaz, the AI upscaled Topaz filter, so there's a whole engine called Topaz that's used for like video, and it just like mangles faces and lighting and whatever else, and then he changes light. So yeah, so James Cameron in general is one that's like, it so sucks because all his movies are loved, but then like he's got Avatar syndrome, so like everything has got to be like well lit 3D blue, purple, bright colors kind of thing, and so he's gone back and fiddled too much.
I mean, I'm excited to see The Abyss in part because I haven't watched much James Cameron, to be honest.
That's peak James Cameron. That's peak like hubris James Cameron.
The Avatar movies. If you've
seen any of his like weird, like if you watch some of the interviews with that, like you've got actors that nearly died making that movie. You've got like a lot of like.
Well, the underwater stuff is so terrifying to be filming in.
Yeah, and James Cameron's like, we're gonna film this actually underwater. We're gonna go in a submarine and go and film this. And you're like, what is wrong with you, dude? Like
he did the same stuff with Titanic, man. Like the research he did for Titanic was crazy dangerous.
Yeah. So like that's what I'm saying. Like James Cameron is just wacko. So I'm intrigued into your thoughts on that one. But The Abyss, week 8. That's Alien Encounters week. That's a good one.
Yeah, so that was my Alien Encounters movie that I picked. It's cool. There's like a lot of fun themes. It's a nice, fun way of just like getting yourself some new movies that you've not seen before. So
you've never seen Talladega Nights, huh?
Never seen Talladega Nights.
Oh man, that's
never seen Talladega Nights.
One like once a week, and once every few days actually.
So there's definitely some blind spots I'm catching up on.
Oh man, Tales from the Hood is a good one. That's a good bad movie. They Live. You've never seen They Live, huh?
Never saw They Live. I'm familiar with the memes. But...
Oh man, that's such a good one. Oh, that's a good list.
Yeah,
Ed Wood. Ed Wood. That's an interesting one.
I've seen Plan 9 from Outer Space, but I've not seen Ed Wood.
Cassie Boswell's this guy. Wow, Cemetery of Splendor. That's a good one.
Yeah,
The Secret of the Grain.
I'll be checking it down. That's I think when did I say that was? I think it's week 12. So I'm hitting that around Thanksgiving.
I think Skinamarink.
Yeah, that was
Zodiac.
A movie that came out last year. Skinamarink, that was very controversial because it's very slow.
Yeah.
And I know some people that like thought it was one of the greatest horror movies of all time. And then I know some people are just like, get me out of this theater, please. I'm bored out of my head. And I tend to like some slow stuff, so I think I'll agree with that. But we'll see.
You're not even allowed into Austin if you've never seen Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Holy crap, Excalibur, dude.
Yeah.
Week 32. You've never seen Excalibur?
No, I mean it's 1981, right? So it's a bit before my time, and it was. I mean, it's got some like adult-ish content in it, so it was definitely.
Well, you're gonna wait till next year for the Fall Guy, huh?
Yeah, I mean that's when it came up, so that's when we're hitting it. Yeah, and then there was a bunch of bonus weeks because this was the 10th anniversary.
They Millennium Actress.
Yeah, I watched. I've seen Perfect Blue and Paprika now.
Blue,
and so
yeah.
I'm excited to see Millennium Actress because boy, I love Perfect Blue. Great.
Poor Things. You're gonna wait a year for Poor Things. That's a good one.
That one, so the bonus ones I can kind of I'll check them off whenever I get a chance. So we'll see.
Magnolia.
We'll see. There's some like film nerd stuff. There's some like nerd stuff. There's some deep
Excalibur is
stuff.
funny. My dad loves that movie, and this is one of those movies that went through re-release hell before it was like everywhere. So like that movie couldn't, like, for the longest time it was an out of print VHS. You couldn't find it anywhere for a very long time. My dad loved that movie, and I remember him talking to a video store guy to find him a copy of it, and he eventually did. And he found him a copy pre it being re-released on and then when DVD came out, it was like one of the DVDs that like was like in every bundle of DVDs, like everyone had like the flip cardboard copy, like the flipper disc of it. But Excalibur is one of his favorite movies, and that and Dune were two movies that he would play all the time. And to this day, in my opinion, it holds up cinematically, effect-wise, and it's still the best version of any Knights of the Round Table / King Arthur. There just hasn't been a better movie.
Have you seen? Did you catch up with The Green Knight that came out a couple
I
years
haven't.
ago?
So that one I haven't seen.
It's weird. I don't know that you'll think it's like, it's not necessarily like a super faithful adaptation. To be clear, it's a very like kind of like artistic liberties thing. But I really enjoyed that one.
Okay.
So I'm excited to compare it to Excalibur a little bit.
Yeah, Excalibur is just Excalibur is by the numbers version of like King Arthur. Like this happens, this happens, that sort of thing.
Which is great. Yeah,
Green but Knight also like it doesn't have like a happy ending. There is definitely like it is almost like a tragedy in a way, like the story of King Arthur and like the hubris of it all, and by the end of it, you're just like, yeah, this is what happens, but like, cool, ton of actors. Yeah, it's an epic, and it's a lot of actors that like, you're like, holy crap, they're in this movie. Like a lot of.
So the reason it's on the list is because it was the category was Dame Week, so you had to do Judi Dench, Helen Mirren, or Maggie Smith, and so this one, I mean, it's Helen Mirren, Dame Helen
Mirren. I forgot. Yeah, she's in there. Yeah. I mean, it's just so many. But like, yeah, she's in that one, and Patrick Stewart's in that one.
Patrick Stewart's in it. You got
he's bald and old in that movie somehow. It's 1981, probably filmed in 79 and 40 years ago, and yet he's bald and old somehow. I just don't understand.
Yeah, Liam Neeson's in it apparently, which that seems crazy to me.
Yeah, there's a ton of people like that. That is, again, I'm excited for you to watch that one. I know it's going to be wait until next year, but like, wow, that's a good movie.
Keep you posted on the progress because I want to make as much progress on this as I can.
I do shit. I'm gonna hop on and check it out. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah. Please do.
All right, we ran long, but that was a good conversation. And man,
it's been a while, man. We had a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, we had a lot to catch up on, and for sure. Oh man, Your Name. I just saw that. Week 3.
I've been meaning to see it for a long time, so I'm looking forward to actually just checking it off the list.
That's nice core. Nice core.
Yeah, that's that was my nice core week. Good one. I really liked a lot of people were choosing Marcel the Snail with Shoes On, which is a wonderful movie. If you've not seen that, but I didn't choose it because I'd already seen it.
Paddington. I haven't seen any of the Paddingtons that I've heard.
I saw Paddington 1. I thought it was good. It didn't blow me away. I know Paddington 2. People freaking love Paddington 2. It's like,
there's the joke, right? There's the Pedro Pascal.
On the Nick Cage movie,
and Nick Cage is like, I cried every moment of that movie.
So I mean, like Paddington 2, it's one of the greatest reviewed films of all time by users on both IMDb and Letterboxd. People love that movie. They're crazy.
They're making a 3.
I know. He's going back to Peru.
Weird. Such a weird. It's weird.
It's wild.
Okay, I'm gonna go through your list, but yes. All right, folks. Thanks so much for joining us. We talked a lot, hung out a lot. I appreciate it. We'll be back next week, shorter, obviously. We'll try to again. When we skip a week, we have to talk way too long. But we'll be back next week for sure. We're getting close to now that summer's over, fall's coming up, new releases, new stuff's coming up. Things we didn't talk about this week that go look up. Nintendo opened up a museum, which is absolutely.
They finally opened up their museum in Japan.
Yeah. They built it on the site of the original building, so that's interesting. Still no Switch 2 news. Nintendo
Baldur's
is
Gate 3 still a good game.
still a good game.
And
Yeah.
confirmed, still quite good.
And one thing that I might hop on later on this week. I might start a new file for this. I think I do it. If you want to hop on with me, I want to sit down and play this game on stream. I want to play. Thank goodness you're here,
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah,
This game is.
I've seen so much buzz about this game.
So it is like I was telling, it is one of the most fun games I've had in a long time. It's just a silly game. If you've played Untitled Goose Game, it's being published by Panic, same guys as them. It's absolutely a weird game. It is, I guess, based out of like a very region,
North England studio. Yep.
Yeah, very much region. A lot of crude humor in it, but also like it's all funny and in the very like
real short but
way.
real witty is what I'm
real short game, real witty. It's no low risk game. I mean, you literally jump and slap. Those are the two buttons you have, and essentially you're just walking around slapping everything in the world to try to make things happen, and that's it. Yeah. So
cool, man.
I'll probably hop on later on this week to sit down on night and just stream and play that. So
love it.
Cool. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your week. Tomorrow's Friday. Be kind. Whatever your fantasy drafts will be this weekend. Godspeed. But yeah, take care, everyone. Have a good one.
See ya.